One of the most important things about enjoying the process of cooking is prepping your ingredients ahead of time. It might seem like a waste of time in the beginning, but trust me, the cooking process goes a lot better. It's a lot more enjoyable. You're a lot more in the moment and present for what's happening in the pan. So we're going to start by dicing the onions and making a ginger garlic paste, essential for any type of Indian dish. We need a lot of ginger garlic paste. In any kind of red meat dishes, you want to put more garlic than ginger. So we have 8 cloves of garlic and about an inch piece of ginger. First, I'm going to pound the ginger to get it into a semi-paste type of state. And then I'm going to add in the garlic and then pound them together to create a fine paste. Going to add a bit of coarse salt. Okay, we're gonna now start cooking. We've prepped all the ingredients. We have all the ground spices and the whole spices that we need. We're heating this large saute pan, and we're going to start by first heating some ghee and then adding some whole spices to flavor it, and then we're gonna add in the onions. So let's begin. We have to brown the onions, and that's going to take some time. We don't want this to be on a very high heat because then the onions will burn and taste bitter. I also added some seasoning, or just salt, to the onions. It helps them cook faster, and we also want to season as we go. We want to season every component of the dish. Getting there, we're seeing some color on some of these onions. We don't want them to be completely brown because they're also going to continue cooking with the meat and the other ingredients. So we just want a touch of color. I think it's time to add the ginger garlic paste. Smells so good. I'm gonna lower the heat, and then we're going to add some yogurt. little bit of turmeric, some red chili powder. This is Kashmiri red chili, so not too much heat. Coriander powder, then some cumin powder. I'm also going to add a little bit of garam masala at this stage, and we're going to add some more later. Now let's give it a stir. It should be on very low heat so that the ground spices don't burn. We're going to incorporate the ground spices with the yogurt. And if you think that it's drying up too much, you can add a little bit of water. This is probably the most critical stage of the dish. Now we're gonna add in the meat. I'm using some ground beef, 80-20. You don't want something very lean for this. This works perfectly. I'm going to increase the heat just so we can get a nice color on the meat. Break it up into smaller chunks, because this is only going to get more difficult later on. And make sure that you mix it really well with the masala. Keep stirring it for the first few minutes while it's on high heat. Break up the chunks, mix it in. It's going to release some water, but we want to keep the heat high because we don't want this to steam. We want this to saute. Add some seasoning at this stage. Remember, this is a pound of meat. It can take a lot of salt, so don't be shy. I think I'm going to add a little bit more red chili powder. It can use a slightly more heat. It feels pretty well balanced in terms of the other spices. So I'm going to add the red chili powder. I'm going to saute it further, let that spice powder cook out, and then we can finish cooking by adding a little bit more water and letting it bubble away. So now you can see all the water has dried up. The water released from the meat has been completely soaked in, and we can see a little bit of the fat coming out from the meat. We can add in the water for the final stage of cooking. This hasn't cooked for a while after adding the water, but you can already see the fat separation. And you can see that because we spent the time earlier cooking out the masala. And this is what you want to see, this like red fat floating on top. It doesn't mean that there is too much fat in it. It just means that we've cooked it correctly. Now we're going to let it bubble away for just a little bit, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. The meat is already cooked. What we're looking for is really for all the flavors to incorporate into the mince. So we're going to let it bubble away at a medium-low heat, and then we're going to come back and check on it. This is as reduced as I want it to be. Going to taste it for seasoning. Just a touch more salt. Mix well. We're going to intensify the flavor. I'm going to add some more garam masala, a couple of teaspoons. Give it a stir. We don't need to cook this for a long time. We're just finishing the dish with this so it has that potent fragrance of the garam masala. Add in some chopped cilantro. Gonna mix it so that the cilantro is nicely incorporated. And we're ready to eat. Typically, we would also serve some kind of a vegetable dish with this. So my family's gonna say, oh, you only cooked one dish, but we're gonna let that be for today. And we're gonna go ahead and let Ross try it and tell me what he thinks.
That is spectacular. I do not want to stop eating this.